Hey, everybody. Ryan with Sign. Quick message for you at the beginning of the podcast before we get into the interview with Galen, who is the president of the MSC this year for 2025. We're going to be live at MSC. And if you can't make it, I'm hoping you'll tune in. We're going to be going live on our YouTube channel. We'll be putting announcements and more information on LinkedIn, as well as our own homepage at signcalibration.com. But I'm just hoping we can get a bunch of you to tune in and check things out. We'll be going live that Tuesday, doing things like the exhibitors reception and going around and seeing all the exhibitors and trying to give you some sort of feel for what the conference is. So please tune in for that. And we're hoping to grow this for next year. So just check things out here coming up. Also, when we recorded this episode, we didn't have full information on sponsors and things like that. So Mike Schwartz sent over some of the sponsors. So allow me to announce those real quick. Our gold sponsor for MSC is Fluke, which included 2 education scholarships and an event sponsor for the president's reception. So that's basically 2 thanks to Fluke. Fluke, great job. We love the support that Fluke provides the industry and provides us here at the school. Our lanyard sponsor is Indiesoft. Great team over there at Indiesoft. And the lanyards are what carries our credentials as we're walking around the conference. And then we have a coffee sponsor, which is Mia Test, also a great supporter of the school. Mia Test, maybe you don't know, if you're doing a conference, a gallon of coffee is something, no joke, like $95. So a sponsor for that is a huge deal. And then also IAS is a education sponsor. So thank you to IAS. Great for all of these sponsors. And if you want to be a sponsor, please reach out to Mike Schwartz or the team over there at MSC. So without further delay, I'm hoping that you'll all tune in for the MSC, but also check out this episode now with Galen talking about this year's MSC. Thank you once again for listening. Really appreciate it. So welcome everyone to our MSC special. We got Henry, my usual co-host. Henry, how are you?
Hello. Good. Happy to be here.
And then our MSC special co-host, Mike Schwartz. Everyone knows Mike.
May the Schwartz be with you.
May the Schwartz be with you. And then Galen, do you mind introducing yourself? You're the president, right? This year is the official title. Do you mind letting everyone know who you are and how the heck did you get into metrology?
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Galen Liao. I am the president of Measurement Science Conference 2025. I'm really super excited about what we have in store for everyone. But that's my part-time gig. My full-time job, I am a manager at Northrop Grumman. I run the Cal Lab over at Space Park, which is the Redondo Beach site. We're a pretty large Cal Lab. We have about 75 technicians.
Wow.
Running 2 shift operations, and we calibrate everything from dimensional all the way to high-end RF. And I started off in this industry. Actually, I just started off applying for a job internally within Northrop Grumman. And I didn't know too much about the Cal Lab. I've worked with them, obviously, previously, getting stuff of my equipment calibrated. But I randomly applied to a job. I got hired in as an engineer. And I wasn't really sure about this career field. But I attended one measurement science conference. I believe it was 2012 in Long Beach.
Wow.
And I took a course with Mike Tovey on load cells. We were having problems with our load cell calibration machine, and I wanted to learn more and figure out what's going on. And I started getting involved with the industry, started helping out with MSC, and now, I don't know, 13 years later, I'm the president.
Metrology got the hooks in you.
Yeah.
So now, do you feel like the metrology is your passion for life now?
I wouldn't put it that strongly, but it's a good field. It's excellent. It pays well. It's very stable. I don't really see a way for metrology or calibration to be offshored,
right,
like with other positions. So I really do enjoy that aspect. I've been previously in other positions where the program ended and I had to go scramble to find another job, or I can foresee like other positions being offshored, but I feel pretty stable in this one. So
That's
it's a pretty
great.
stable career choice.
It's a
That's great.
constant for now, right?
Yeah.
Until they try to say, oh, there'll be self-calibrating devices or we'll electronically calibrate devices. I saw, you're talking about load cells. I saw a thing where they said, oh, our testing machines, most people use load cells for various applications, some material test calibrate material test machines, but they're saying, our material test machines never need tested. We can just update it via USB. And I said, oh, how the heck does that work?
Interesting.
That works until you get audited and you have to check your compliance, and then you realize there's more to it than just, checking a machine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but people get sold on this.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm friends with Phineas Olson, so I said, Sean, are you going to look for another job soon? And he just laughed. He said, yeah, that'll be the day. And it's just, it's impossible. But these things, I mean, they're out there and people are claiming things that are always fun and everything else. But hey, I see on your LinkedIn, I love it. I am uncertain with a coverage factor of 2. If I am a calibration nerd. So Ryan's question there, that's a pretty interesting tagline there for being completely headfirst into measurement sciences. So
Oh yeah. I figured those out there would get the joke, and those that don't. That's okay.
So Galen, I got a question for you. When you did your training with Toby, was that at MSC or was that Toby or at Toby?
That was at MSC.
Okay.
I remember that first MSC. I sat next to Mike Pond, I think.
Okay.
He was a young. He was going to take over his dad's business, and I sat next to him at breakfast and introduced myself and started getting to know the players in the industry. And then I went into Mike's class and try to keep up with what was going on, and he was been a great resource since, and I was able to get our machine going, and I thought it was a really great experience. I learned a lot, and I'm trying to encourage the next generation of metrologists to go out there and get as much knowledge as they can and improve their careers.
Yeah, so obviously you've been around the MSC scene for a minute. When you come into, hey, this is you're the president, that seems very daunting to me. And I've been to the conference as a very, side participant, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what that entails? Like, what does the president of MSC do for, getting the conference rolling?
I just sit around and look pretty, and I have a bunch of people do all my work for me.
See, everybody should apply.
Everybody needs to. Yeah, it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think Dawn or anybody else would give us an answer.
No. It's a lot of work. So the planning for the conference comes out more than a year in advance. You got to think about who's on your committee. You want to think about what's going to be in your president's message. I even had to think about the conference colors and matching schemes. That's way beyond my forte, so I had some help with that. And then when it's that way, so that the previous conference ends, you're off and running. You're able to get started. You have the new website loaded up so that at the right time the clock switches and the new conference material starts appearing, and then you start going out there and promoting your conference. And you also have to develop a budget, figure out how we did previous years, and you want to make sure that we stay within that guidelines because we're nonprofit, so we don't want to. We've been lucky so far, but we've had a few lean years where we've had to request extra help from within our board to help extend us. But we've been lucky since, and I don't want to put us into that position ever again. So that's basically the first bit of it, and then you start stressing about being able to get the right content in.
Right.
And then once you get the content in, you have to go out there and recruit the folks to come out.
Now, has there been presidents that weren't involved in the process before? Because it seems like you kind of know what to expect going into it. Is there someone that helps onboard you to this stuff? Like how do you know, or is it just kind of learn on the go?
So being a president is actually a 3-year commitment.
Okay.
So the first year you come in as the VP and you kind of learn what the role of presidency is like. After your first year of doing learning on the job, you get to take over as the president, run your conference. And then the final year, you're acting as the chairperson of the board, where you get to guide the next president in their next conference. So there is some continuation. It is a 3-year commitment, though.
So you had a pretty good mentor there with Dawn. I've taken Dawn's classes. I don't know that personally, Galen, though knowing Dawn's classes that I've taken, she is very thorough and very great at presenting. So
Yeah.
I assume you had a fantastic mentor in that process.
Yeah, for sure. She has a very interesting backstory, and it's really great. And she has all these connections at NIST that I definitely lean on.
That's something we talked about to get not to divert. I gone to MSC numerous times. I've taught at MSC numerous times. It is great. You mentioned the TOVI class, and I gave a force class there. I think 2010. 3 times I've given force classes there at MSC. And it doesn't seem like there's a huge draw for some of these parameters as like when we did a measurement decision risk, the room people were pulling in chairs. It's a different, it's a very different topic when you get into the specifics. So just asking like about that in general, you have what the CCT exam, lots of training opportunities, but yeah, just, in general, what's MSC have this year?
So yeah, it's always a struggle trying to guess what would be the popular topic of the day.
Sure.
And so we do try to have a wide variety and not try to repeat the same courses that we have in the past. So this year I'm trying to focus more on pharmaceuticals and biomechanical or biomedical device topics. So we have I would say a eighth of my committee is in the industry, and they are pulling in interesting topics on within that field. I don't actually know all the topics off the top of my head, but we also have other topics. We have obviously our Metrology 101 course that we will be giving as always to help those new to the industry or newly into the management position and trying to understand what they are actually managing. And so that's what that is designed towards.
Yeah, that is a separate course, right? Because the cool thing about MSC, at least when the times that I've been there, is it's if you pay once and you can go to almost any of the presentations. Though then there's some special separate presentations that are just like a 2-day on the CCT exam, 2-day on the CCC primer. That's a separate than that. I'm just trying to.
So the way we price our conference is it's either a 1-day pass, 2-day pass, 3-day pass, or 4-day pass, which 4 days is the full conference. And anything within that day, you are welcome to attend. With the CCT, because we don't actually pay for the testing, that has to be paid to ASQ. So that's a separate charge. But the training that goes on beforehand and the tutorials, all that is covered within that conference pass.
Okay, so if I get a 4-day pass, I can go to Metrology 101. I can dip into like some pharmaceutical thing and say, "Oh, this is above my head. I'm gonna go dip into another session here that may not be above my head." And yeah, so you can really maximize for one. You can really maximize.
I know. I feel for you, Henry, because I've only been on the presenter side, so some of those details I am also unclear on. But I did know they had the multi-day package. I always say, and you'll have to tell me what you think about this, Galen, is especially coming from a place like Northrop, right? I look at it as a good chance to take people out of their normal day-to-day routine where they're stressed out, and especially if you're in like commercial, Cal, getting out of that environment to go and focus on getting better is my personal like selling point to these conferences. Kind of like I call it a metrology vacation, right? Where you go and that is the entire focus. And yet there's fun and everything. But Henry, I think you're the one that has mentioned this before. Hey, going and having a room full of people that will talk metrology with you and Cal with you, that is invaluable sometimes.
Well, the cooler thing about MSC, at least my cool thing, is, and Galen can talk about it, is the bands. The one year we had, what was the band? There was Elton John and Foreigner, I think. I'm drawing like they cover bands, and that's just such a fun night.
Yeah.
And there's some cool that we don't get. Like, conferences are great in general, right? If you can go to them, you can get out, you can see everybody. MSC's West Coast, NCSLI this year is on the East Coast. And when you look at them, MSC has the fun stuff. I like to be honest about it. MSC, you're not going to get cover bands and all that stuff at NCSLI. Nothing wrong with it. But MSC, you're going to go out, you're going to, you can chat with everybody else, have a fun night, giveaway. I think you were still doing giveaways, raffles, and MSC does some really, the group is just a really fun group to be with. And I think that comes from internally, that there's a passion there between Galen and everybody else to just want to go out and put on something that's a little bit fun and different, as well as learn metrology.
Yeah, right. For me, it's the cards, the business cards.
All about the cards.
I get so many contacts, of people in the industry you need to reach out to when you have a particular problem. So to me, that's the huge advantage, because when somebody meets you face to face, right, and then they know who you are and you know who they are, and that that little sideline thing that they're doing as well, because it's more than just metrology talk, a little bit about them because you've had a beer or something. Then when you need that contact, you need that other piece of information, or you need to know somebody that you think they might know, they're more eager to sit back and give you that information than just some, cold email that comes through or a cold call. So to me, that's the biggest advantage of getting out there, is just all the people that you meet, and then the people that but you've never got to meet, and now you get to see them face to face. So Ted was there, Ted Green with Ted Tunes. Then I still remember, one of his fans ran through, Ted, hey,
I got the calendar somewhere in here.
Yeah, you look just like you drew yourself. So
that's right. Yeah, for me, the conference is great. I love going out there and meeting all the new companies as they're showing off their new wares. I remember as a young engineer, I didn't know anything about the industry, didn't know who was reputable, who was not reputable, and being able to go out there, touch the product, and seeing like the sales guys tell me a lot about their product and their passion behind it. It tells a lot for me, so that when I can go back and talk to my boss or my manager and say, hey, this new product that's coming out, I think it's something we should invest in the next couple of years. I can stand behind that versus Googling something, and I have no idea how one product compares to another on a Google webpage,
Right.
And so that's what I appreciate a lot about the conference. And then for like young technicians or metrologists still trying to figure things out, there's plenty of training there that you can go dabble in and try to figure out a little bit of, good weighing practices to pipettes, how to properly calibrate pipettes. I don't think you can get that sort of experience anywhere else. And then if we're in the LA area, we're in Disneyland Hotel again this year, and it's a pretty convenient for a large population of the Cal Lab industry in the Southern California area. So it's not too far of a drive. You don't have to fly out anywhere. And
it's pretty easy typically you fly into LAX, and it's not that far of a drive out. Downtown Disney is right there, right by the hotel. So you can go out.
There. Yeah.
If you want to grab a beer, Ballast Point has some special ones that that you can't get anywhere else. Generally,
Lego, if you want some
yeah,
Legos.
Legos is there. We went to Disney. I was not the one. I took Dilip, Galen. I took Dilip Shaw. I got Dilip Shaw to go to Disney with me for the day.
Wow.
Yeah. So him and I went to the day. We ended up on three. We went. We were early. We came to the conference early, and we ended up doing 3 rides in a day. So you have to. We were not masters of Disney by any means, shape, or form. Where we did the
But you wanted to see the Star Wars one that was a long wait, right?
we did, and then we wrote a single line. But yeah, if you're going to do all that, you can come to the people could go to the show a day early or whatever. Get the fast pass. We did not get the fast pass, and we ended up waiting in line forever. So it amounted to only being able to do 3. Got to see the Star Wars, but the 2 parks are right there, super walkable. You'll see a lot of people in downtown Disney, like the metrologists, and people are just kick back and cool. Like the people that are there, generally, like everybody's talking. Navy's going there. Who else goes? Galen, you got Fluke will be there.
Yeah. So a lot of aerospace and defense companies go out there. I know
Yep.
they attend. They may not exhibit, but they do attend. We have also a lot of pharmaceutical companies going out. So Amgen, JPL, Mesa goes out there. Fluke goes out there. There's Aditel that supports.
Yeah, Aditel puts up that huge lighted sign. Mike, it looked
Yeah,
like
you
you
need
had. Were you trying to
sunglasses.
sneak
Yeah,
something in there?
Well, I wanted to add, since we're talking about Disneyland, I wanted to add that that when you come out and book your rooms for the conference, you can book at the discounted rate for Disneyland 3 days before the show and 3 days after the show.
Mhm.
So now, if you want to spend some time with your family and whatnot, along with metrology, I'm sure the boss isn't going to pay for your family's tickets to come out, but you could go ahead and book your tickets out, see a bit of the show, attend a couple tutorials, and then you could actually bring the family out before or after the show, and then just spend 2-3 days at Disneyland.
And you get the
So that's
discounted hotel, which is normally super salty and super expensive. So
Yeah.
to stay on that, and some companies will pay the hotel rate, at least pay the hotel rate in your travel for the day
exactly.
before and the day after. Maybe depends on the policy. So it is. I mean, you have the whole Star Wars thing there. You have everything else. You have industry people. It is a smaller show, so every time I've been there, at least a lot of good conversation with everybody. People are way willing to open up instead of like the hectic shows that are too big and everybody's trying to get to them or talk to them. I think everybody's really approachable. Looking at the list, IndieSoft's there, Gilline, Amatec, Aditel.
And isn't there usually a keynote? Do you guys have those yet? Because I know we are a little bit early. Do you have the keynotes or an idea of who those are?
We have an idea. We haven't locked them in yet, but we will have a speaker every lunch.
The reason I bring that up, and of course there will be more updates on that type of stuff, but I remember the one from, was it last year, Mike, or the year before, that it was the LA County guy that does the weights and measures, and I found that so fascinating. That was because we know legal metrology exists, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
when you start to see the statistics of what they go out and investigate, and they go and find actually going on out there. I thought that was so cool. So I also wanted to mention that because, sometimes it's hard to envision what a day is like at one of these conferences. But if you're in a tutorial, you go in, you have, what is it, 2 hours that you're learning, and then you got a break 2 hours, and then you're going into lunch. And at lunch, it's a great lunch, but you also get a keynote speaker that sometimes is just as interesting as the tutorial you're in. And so then you're coming back after that, going back into whatever tutorial you're in for the day. So it's like I said, it's very unique, and it's something I wasn't aware of when I was in the military, and I wasn't aware of until I actually met Mr. Schwartz here, and he mentioned the conferences to me. But it's something that I think is just so underutilized.
Yeah, one year we had a keynote speaker who was, a scholarship awardee, right? And his scholarship was on the forensic science. and how it affects metrology. And that was just so wild to see all of these things that they're doing to analyze bullets and analyze fingerprints and the actual metrology that's behind that. So it was probably one of the best ones. We actually had him back to speak twice. So,
Oh, nice.
but
That's cool.
That's another thing MSC does that this year we've moved all the sponsors, so the gold, silver, and bronze sponsors. We're moving all of those guys directly tied to the scholarship program because, MSC has always been about getting people scholarships so that we can extend the education of metrologists out there. So we want to get that tied and make that more of a message. So anybody who comes in as a sponsorship, they're going to get recognized as a sponsor, and during the awards to the sponsorship or to the scholarships that are awarded to students. So they're going to get recognized there as well.
Oh yeah, I did see that email. So now sponsors, you're talking about corporate sponsors of MSC that will go towards a scholarship, is what you're saying.
You can we've given several years scholarships. You can give money, and they will announce it. You can give 1,000, 2,000, 3. You can go higher to help offset some of the college. Galen can chip in to help offset some of these people's college bills. And when they start reading, Galen's there in the crowd or whatever, and they start reading what everybody has done and the people that MSC selects, you feel really, really good about those contributions. They very worthwhile, it seems. Galen, what are your thoughts on that? The
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we started off here just to promote the measurement sciences and the industry and trying to help educate those that are interested in the measurement sciences. And so scholarships are a very important part of what we do. We're trying to get the student population interested in our industry and help feed our labor force. And so we're hoping to give quite a few scholarships this year and change some students' lives and be able to help them out with some of their college expenses.
Nice.
Which are huge. Which are huge expenses.
Yeah, no kidding.
But when you hear what these students are doing, it's phenomenal. I wanted to go with the lunches. I was there the one time and we had someone talk about Mary Poppins, not metrology related. And it's in there like the importance of Mary Poppins. And the next one, the Navy was talking about the lasers where they can blow up the head of a terrorist, a mile away, with holding a gun to somebody, and they can just use the laser and the head just disintegrates.
A mile away?
I think it was a mile away. Galen might know more about that. That presentation was so wild.
Whoa.
Those links are classified, I'm sure. But it's something like a mile. We'll say that.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, and it's just the amount of energy. And they showed this the dummies. Dummy with I think an AK-47, with the terrorists or with the hostages bent on their knees, and they put the next thing you see is the head's clearly blown off.
That sounds like some MythBusters stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, and then there's the metrology NIST on a chip was another one that was like, what is this NIST on a chip? So learned a lot about that. It's really cool stuff.
Well, and one thing I do want to shamelessly plug is this year, and the extent of this will be seen, but the podcast, at least myself, I know Henry, you probably aren't going to be able to make it, but I'm going to be covering MSC and putting it up on the YouTube so that some of the things that are there, people can somewhat keep up to date. But that should be interesting to try and get people a little bit more aware of the things that are going on, day to day and the exciting parts of everything. We did do that broadcast. What is your party called, Mike?
You're talking about the Metrology on Tap,
right? Like
so
those
live,
like those type of things. Just more of the personality behind the conferences and make them a little bit less of a mystery, right? Because people, I know, as I go around teaching around the country and I mention the conferences every time, they'll mention like, oh, we went at this point in time and they were this and that. They change over time, and they evolve, and it's important to there's so many labs that are out there that they're completely isolated. They don't talk to any other labs. They just keep operating on their own, and they're not contacting or keeping in touch with the industry, right? And I think we're one of those weird industries that the conferences are somewhat key. I mean, wouldn't you all agree that that is our way of keeping in touch and staying up to date in many ways? You know, there's not websites is as dedicated, like we're not mainstream news, I guess is the best way of putting it, right? There's not a bunch of updates coming through CNBC about metrology.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be in the loop. You have to attend these conferences so that you know what's going on and somewhat keep in the loop.
What's
I'm
coming?
going to jump back to that connections that you're going to get at these trade shows, right? And you get any calibration lab out there, and you know they've got their people, and there's that group of knowledge of the people that are doing things in that lab and that kind of work. And then all of a sudden, somebody sends in this other piece of test equipment that nobody's ever seen. What are you going to do? You can grab the manuals and learn some things, but you can have that contact that you met, that you pick up the phone and you say, hey, have you ever heard of a KN 6000? Right. And the guy in there says, oh yeah, we calibrate those all the time. You know, and you find there's in metrology, there's these little niches of expertise knowledge, and it's not always the manufacturer. I know of a story that I had where I was out at a customer site, and I had just left the manufacturer and got all of his information. A month later, I'm at the customer site and I'm arguing with the technician about how something works. Well, that technician, right, we're arguing. He said, finally he said, let me talk to the guy at the manufacturing site. So I call him, hand him the phone, and the guy hands the phone back to me. And the guy's like, yeah, do it the way he said, because what we told you was wrong.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. And it's just all of these pockets of knowledge, and building up that network is just unbelievably valuable. And I don't think you're going to do it on, Twitter and X and Facebook and whatnot. You're just not going to build up that network of knowledge without knowing people.
No, you have to. I mean, you really have to get the contacts. You learn so much more. We all know it. You meet somebody, they help you out. There's seasoned metrologists that have been doing this 20, 30 years, right, that are going to be there.
Oh, Galen,
and somebody's got to get that knowledge before they retire. And they're all, most of them are willing to share it. I use Galen, I use terms like all now and then, but it's most, right? Like 99% at MSC. There's probably some number. There's probably the one person that's like, okay, just avoid them.
Well, Mike knows, and Galen mentioned Pond, right? I'm sitting here like, hey, I need some sources for a gallium cell. Well, guess what? Pond Engineering is that person, that is like a stream of knowledge, right? I would have known nothing about that unless I was at that conference and got to meet them personally and learn more about all their products and the things that they had. Because some of those, we're talking about niche, we're already niche, but when you start getting into more high-end, low uncertainty measurements, a lot of the best places out there are boutique. Right? When we all agree, like some of the best solutions out there are more on the boutique end and aren't going to be something easily found in a Google search all the time.
For sure.
You can talk to Guildline about skidoos too, if you want to talk about
what's a skidoo. I have no idea what a skidoo is. So we are getting somewhat close to the end of the hour. Mike, you're our MSC co-host. Do you have any other topics that you wanted to bring up before we start closing out the show?
Yeah, I think a big thing is for the companies that are out there listening to this, is hit your boss up for a little bit of extra training and networking. And a lot of times it's the bosses that go out there, but I know a lot of companies that are trading off. This year they go, next year they go, this year they go, next year they go. So if you can, hit your boss up, see if there's, funding this year to come out. Registration is open, and there's a lot of really good classes. So that are out there. I'm going to be part of the Metrology 101. And then I was just looking through the class list. Last year I taught a MetCal class, but this year Fluke is going to put on a basic procedure writing class. So
Nice.
intro to procedure writing. So right there is a reason to come out, and get some training in automation. And then there's pressure, there's temperature, all the major disciplines are typically out there in the tutorials.
And the exhibit hall is open this year. It is not closed off. So if
Okay.
you just want to come out and check out the exhibit hall, you're more than welcome to. You just have to register ahead of time. And we're really excited about all the new things that we're trying to do. Each night, we'll essentially have an activity. I know you guys really look forward to the president's reception and the cover bands. I think I found a good band
Do you
this
have
year.
cover bands? You want to announce them, or
I'm not quite sure if we were going to have a cover band, but we'll have a good entertainment slate. The welcome reception is always nice in the exhibit hall. And we're going to have a little networking hour the first night and have some caricatures and little
Nice.
metrology trivia. So it should be fun.
Oh,
So fun
sweet.
nights all around.
so you can get your famous. You can get your cut twice, measure once. That I like to say, caricature. Measure once, cut twice, because instead of the normal one. So hey Galen, on this, give us some inside dirt. Like when you talk you're in your meetings and you talk about cover bands and people propose these bands. What are the fights like? Is someone like, oh, we need what is this, or give me the strangest band that someone has thrown out? I'm sure Nelson never made it, but
I probably threw out the strangest band. I don't
what band is
What is that one?
who'd you throw out?
Man, I don't remember their names anymore. Flash Pants.
Flash Pants,
Yes.
and what do they?
They were an '80s cover band. And,
Oh, so fantastic!
They were on the new Gong Show a couple years ago, and they're local. And
So what's the problem there? I don't see anything wrong with an 80s
no,
band.
I think that's awesome.
Chairperson of the board at that time said, you don't realize who our clientele are, and if you had them come out and perform the way they were performing, we would have several heart attacks.
Oh, I gotcha.
So they were in your face Flash Pants. It was a good time, but he went with I think that's when we decided to go with Elton John that time, which was a good choice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh man, I'm on their website. They're out in they're America's #1 '80s party band, guaranteed to rock your event. What's the fine print on Flash Pants? Do you get money back if they don't rock the pants?
They were a good show. I was at a festival and I saw them, and I was like, oh, this is good fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. So.
But yeah, we have lots of we're in Southern California. We're in the entertainment capital. Yeah. So there's a lot of good talent out there for artists like caricatures, for entertainment with cover bands. There's a lot of people out there trying to make their mark, and Disneyland's a good spot for them to go and showcase their talents, and they love coming out and supporting our conference.
It's super really fun. Great. It is super fun. I mean, when you were giving glasses, the Elton John one, you were giving glasses out, like these ridiculous glasses people were putting on. There was a lightsaber raffle. I think so. Like 3 or 4 people got lightsabers.
So you weren't there the first time Elton John was there, because we've had him back twice.
Yes.
Elton, I forget. I think Foreigner was the other one with the cover band. That was fun. It's just, and the bands were great. Everything's cool. It's just a cool show. It's just a really fun show if people can get out. They can learn metrology. MSC does things. It's laid back and fun, and that atmosphere certainly resonates with all of the attendees, because people are open and they talk to one another, and then you learn. As Mike says, you get their cards, right? His card collection. What card are you looking for?
That's the little one. If I line them up, I've got like that much in business cards I've collected over the years.
Yeah. Who has the coolest? We'll put you on the spot. Who has the absolute coolest card?
No, one company from Germany. They made their card a beer coaster, so I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. That is cool.
Well, I will say anyone listening that does make it to the show, make sure to find me. And if you mention this statement on the podcast, I have a special surprise for you.
What is the statement that you have to? What is the key word?
No, that hey, remember you said come up and mention the podcast, and then I have a special surprise for all of you that come and say
and
hi.
you are an exhibitor. Sign Calibration is an exhibitor here for the YouTube people. They're
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The shirts.
You can't see it because it's not a face, but yeah.
Yeah, it's there. So
it's there, but
no, Zoom doesn't like it.
That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother one. Mike can show us his sign tattoo. I think.
Yeah. It's why I got it back here.
Oh my!
Left or right cheek, Mike?
Well, Galen, I want to thank you for coming on and giving us some of your time to talk about MSC. If people want to get a hold of you, is there a good way of doing that? Is it best to find you? You don't have a LinkedIn.
He does have a LinkedIn.
I do have
a LinkedIn.
He's not old like us and have a Facebook. I think.
No Facebook.
He said, Henry, I'm not old like you and don't have a Facebook, but he does have a LinkedIn.
Is LinkedIn not too invasive for you if people want to reach out?
Yeah, you could. So because I'm in the defense industry, they've highly encouraged us in the past to not have very active social media.
Oh, okay.
And only recently did they start allowing us to do so and starting promoting the companies that way. So if you looked at me up in, 5 years ago, I would have been the CEO of Northrop Grumman. I was Cubicle Engineer 1. But
nice.
now I'm a metrology nerd, I guess.
Beautiful.
And so, yeah, you can look me up there via LinkedIn. I do have an MSC email. Mike, do you remember what it is off the top of your head?
So it's first name, last name at msc-conf.com.
And I'll put it in the show.
That out.
I can put that in the show description.
Ryan's our best because he speaks. He can spell.
Actually, I think it's G Liao.
Yep.
So it's GLIAO as in orange at msc-conf.com. And that'll be right towards me.
Perfect. That's perfect. And then Mike, thanks once again for coming on. Are you going to try and sneak in another one before the show?
It would be great if we could get another podcast in there once we get more of the exhibitors locked down, because we want to get a schedule put together where exhibitors can talk about their products on the podcast. And I think that's going to be great. I'm hearing they haven't booked a booth yet, but I'm hearing we might have a robotic pipette calibrator out there.
Ooh.
So that'll be interesting to see.
That would go very well for the theme with the pharmaceuticals. Yep. So that would be pretty badass.
Yep. And I haven't seen a robotic one, but I've seen that multi-port one that the Germans put out years ago. So where it could do, multiple port pipettes, you could do them all at once. So you'd squirt it in, it'd go down, do the weighing, then open up and let you, put the next amount of liquid in it.
Well, I'll definitely be checking that out.
Yep.
Is someone going to be there making their pens, the wood pens?
We haven't had a full commitment yet, but that is the plan.
That's pretty cool too. The giveaways are cool always.
Custom.
All righty. Well, so that will be April 14th through 17th, and Mike, we'll see if we can get you back on the show. Get out there, get to the shows, and thank you, Galen, once again, and thank you all for listening.